Welcome to another episode of Your Music is Bad and You Should Feel Bad with Matt and Blake. He's Matt, I'm Blake. Today we're talking about Fellowship again for some reason. And here.
All right, you want to know why we're talking
Matt.
about Fellowship? The reason we're talking about Fellowship is, look, this band, they restored my faith in this podcast because I went to listen to this album thinking there's not going to be anything to say. It's just going to be the same thing. And in a lot of ways it is the same thing. But I found a few new things in my listening that I was like, oh, I actually have a lot to say about this album and why it's so bad. And so I was like, you know what? I think this podcast is important because people need to know how bad this is and why it's so bad.
I blame myself. I'm a pretty positive guy. And also, I like to talk about things that I want to listen to. This podcast is definitely supposed to be about stuff that's bad, which is going to be things I don't want to listen to. So we're going back to our roots, as they say, as the kids say.
Yes.
So this is important. Where do you want to start? What is the most glaring? What hits you right off the bat? Because I think it's a lot of stuff.
All right, let me just start. This is kind of petty and not that important, but maybe a good place to start, which is that I could never for the life of me remember the name of this album when I was trying to listen to it. And I kept like saying the stars above eternity or the skies over eternity and Apple. And I was in the car, so I was telling Siri to play it and she didn't know what that was. And so she kept playing other crap. And I'd be like, no, Siri, no. And then I have to start over. And then finally, like, you know, at a red light or something, I was able to, what's this album called? And I was listening to it. And I listened to it like 3 times because I think you said you have a theory about it. I have a theory, and I really didn't want to get this wrong because it is a serious allegation. And so I listened to this album 3 times.
I listened to it more than that.
Oh, my God. Like,
because I'm a glutton for punishment, apparently.
Yeah.
My theory is very tongue-in-cheek, so I'm just going to throw this out there.
Okay. All right, go for it.
Maybe I should pause. This might need to be edited out in case it's too inappropriate. Okay. Pause. Matt, I worry that this band, in particular this singer, is a thing that is being promoted and getting a lot of attention because he is a Make-A-Wish kid. And we are assholes for dragging him. We're going to come out and find out that this kid is terminally ill. He's terrible, horrible suffering in life. And that's why this is so uplifting and upbeat. And everyone loves it, despite the fact that it is incomprehensibly just awful.
It's the that Mr. Show sketch with the kid taking guitar lessons.
Yeah, he's
terminally ill, and the teacher's like, "That was amazing, man!" And then he's like, "Oh, he's gonna live. Get out of here, man. That sucks." Wait, no, he's definitely gonna die. Oh, yeah, it's like, but we didn't get the memo somehow. Like they didn't put it in the reviews.
That's what I'm concerned about.
I don't know which.
We got a bunch of guys from A&G just love this, and we got them being booked on Ty's stuff, and Ty loves this, and the fans love this. And we're gonna be these guys that people are gonna watch this, and it's gonna be like, you dicks. This kid is suffering.
I don't know. Maybe there's a secret code that we're not getting from the reviews, like when they say it's like super positive, it's like wink wink, that's supposed to mean they're like it's very positive despite the fact he's dying.
Yes, we're positive that he's dying. Ooh.
My other question then is it just the singer or is it the whole band?
Well, the singer is awful. Actually, I have a backup theory, maybe an additional theory. The production on this is super uneven, and in particular, the vocal production is really, really, really bad. It gets just slogged, hammered way down in the mix, and I don't know if that's because the producer is bad at his job, or if because he's trying to be good at his job by burying a bad singer. I suspect some of column A, some of column B may be true. I don't know, but where was I before that? I lost track of my conspiracy theories are getting too complicated.
The
the
Make-A-Wish
band or the singer. That's right.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
The band, I don't know. There's a lot of production, clearly like MIDI crap, and we've got an orchestra, and we think we're scoring a Disney movie or something. So there's production that goes into that, and it's sometimes hard to tell if the band is bad or mostly robots.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think the band is bad. I don't think they're the terminally ill kids. The singer, I think they're in on it. I think he's not well.
Right. It's interesting because I watched the live stream or the replay of the live stream from Mad with Power when they played there, and I had slightly positive, or at least surprisingly positive responses in some ways. The singer was not as bad live as I expected him to be. I mean, he still has the same voice, like he's kind of, derpy, and so
he's not just
is
derpy.
what it is.
He sounds like Christian youth minister guy.
That's a good description.
Hey, kids, you know who else wanted to be a hobbit? Jesus.
So, you know who else hung out with a bearded guy who wandered around a lot is the apostles. So, yeah, well, they were missing a guitar player at Mad with Power, and the other guitar player was pretty decent considering. A little sloppy compared to the recordings, but again, could have been much worse. I don't remember if they had a bass player for that one or not, but they were missing a guitar player, and I think they probably used tracks for his parts or something, and so that was a little iffy. But again, this band is at least 80-90% MIDI, so we know there's no keyboard players. We know all the orchestration and all that stuff is MIDI programmed, and I think that may be a contributing factor to the mix, because you have to mix with all these fake instruments, and they're not considering how to it's hard to say. Like, I went from listening to I had put on Return to Heaven Denied, which is a really good power metal album, and it sounds very good, especially considering it's from 1998. And I put this on after it, and it sounded so like narrow and like squished into everything was smaller. Like, frequencies were all kind of in the same range, and like the sort of stereo spreads felt very tight and not like there's no depth. But what I noticed with the singer was that, because I was trying to give him credit, but I feel like the vocal mix was worse than the first album. Like, I think it was still bad in the first one, but it was worse. And I think it was, like you said, maybe somebody was just trying to bury him in the mix. But it was weird because,
real quick before I forget, because I've forgotten this point twice.
Mm-hmm.
Did you also notice that there seemed to be like uneven and possibly moving levels? I listened to this in 3 or 4 different sound environments, because, like I said, glutton for punishment. It was my car, my work vehicle, and my headphones, and just some studio type speakers. And there were a couple different settings of that where it seemed like it was going in and out, like the volume was changing, the levels were changing as I'm listening to something across all of these. So I don't think it was a rig issue. Did you run into that? It was worse in headphones, honestly, than anything.
Yeah, I think you would notice that kind of thing more in headphones. It's probably this is just a guess, because I didn't necessarily notice that issue with the mix, although I did notice it being varying wildly between tracks. It could be that, again, with like frequencies kind of stepping on each other, it can create, if you play the same frequency
cancellation
on top of itself, it becomes it becomes louder. And so it could just be that, like, it's just a bad mix that is kind of like pumping volume up and down in certain spots because they're trying to cram in a bunch more fake orchestra instruments and stuff like that. I definitely think that was a factor. I think with the singer, what was weird was that I feel like he was mixed loud enough, but because of the tone of his voice, it was like drowning in the mix. Like he was like, I could hear, I'm like, I should be able to understand what he's saying, but I don't have the time. And
these guys, were they Welsh or something? What was their, I was going to look this up, but I don't want them in my algorithm.
I think they're English.
It's similar. I was going to say, if I can't understand him, maybe it's because he's Welsh. No, there's no accent. But
they definitely don't sing.
Yeah, that's probably English.
With an accent. It says they're from Essex, England.
Okay, well, fine.
So I don't know, but the guys, he has that sort of kind of almost
Useless
froggy, kind of round sounding voice, and I think one thing is that I thought he sounded better than I expected at Mad with Power, but I think to get that result, you would need to find the right microphone for him. Whatever they used for him wasn't doing him any favors, and then whoever mixed it also didn't do him any favors because they could have probably EQ'd it a bit to be more intelligible. And so ironically, I actually think that part wasn't entirely his fault because I've heard him do better, even though I still don't like his voice, but at least I could understand more of it on the first album and Mad with Power. I thought he was surprising because I've seen so many bands with one album play prog power and then the singer is just like not ready to sing live at all because he never has. Other than the fact that they were like 2/3 of a band and probably a MacBook, my favorite musician these days, MacBook Pro, he's great. It's always there.
Very prolific.
Plays with so many bands. Very prolific, exactly. I thought, he did surprisingly good job, but yeah, and this one, it's he's just like drowning in the mix. And one of my favorite bits, this is a good segue. I kept mishearing this one lyric. What the hell is this album called again? Skies?
Starry Skies, something above Starry Sky? No, it's like 4 words.
Skies above eternity? Skies above eternity. Not skies over eternity, not stars over or above eternity. The Bitter Winds is the third track, and there's this lyric in the chorus, am I the only one who knows there is no substitute for hope? Now, what I had guessed that it was supposed to be was home.
I also thought home.
Neither of these rhyme with knows. What does rhyme with it is hose. Yep. I kept hearing it as, am I the only one who knows there is no substitute for hose? And I was like, fellowship. That is very out of character. I was like, oh, it's a whole new direction. It's fellowship because they're fur to fellas. So that was constantly hilarious to me every time I heard them. Because like neither of those, I think home would have been a better lyric than hope, but neither of them rhyme anyway. And so, yeah, home was what I was like, I'm pretty sure that's what it's supposed to be, but it's so bad. It's like, I mean, again, it's the same, like this is positivity thing. And so, but it's too much positivity. It's that kind of positivity where you're like, something's going to come out about one of these guys. This is so positive
I wanted to be so upset with this positivity, but this goes back to the vocals being buried in the mix. I couldn't get
right. You couldn't understand enough of the positivity.
I didn't want to like look up the lyrics because I know they're awful. So I glossed over it. I heard like stupid chorus stuff. The only place where the vocals really clean. But I can't be as upset about the positivity as I'd like to be because I missed it. You killed it with the production. So I don't know how people are, it's this relentless positivity is why I love this. I can't even hear it. I can't understand a word he's saying. I'm a boomer angry about kids. But
I just found another lyric that I was mishearing because I thought it was dumb, but it is, but it's dumber. But the first song, because like I probably heard the first few songs more than 3 times because
I know.
I probably started and
Raise
stopped
up
it.
your hearts again.
Yeah, raise up your hearts again. And in the chorus, I couldn't understand what he was saying for most of the chorus, but there's this one line that I thought he was saying with mighty swords. Because that just sounds like, a typical cheesy fantasy power metal. It's not. It's mighty songs, which none of these songs are mighty. And again, it just somehow like fakes you out, probably because, it does set up a rhyme. Now we tell our tales with mighty songs, all for the hearts here just beating along. But I didn't hear that either. I just thought it was the thing where they're like, okay, we're going to just sing about positivity and then just throw out some like Dungeons and Dragons stuff to remind you we're that kind of power metal band. Power metal bands doing the fantasy stuff, that it used to be like maybe there's metaphor in the fantasy stuff, but it was like metaphor. There's no metaphors. There's just like, here's the positivity about believing in yourself or whatever, and also some stuff about Swords and Dragons or whatever, and how we're hobbits. But they don't. I don't think they know how to do the like metaphor. Well, there's another one. There's another one that I want to get to.
All right. Okay,
so this I think this will lead into my theory. On the only reason I listened to this was because it was on the Angry Metal Guy top 20, and I think also his personal top 10.
Yeah,
but
both.
He also
it was like number 3, something about it was like a 4 out of 5 overall, but a 5 in my heart. It's like, what the?
Yeah, whatever.
Come on.
Whatever that means. But there was also a thing of like he put his like favorite songs of the year, and one of them was Victim from this album. It's the second track, and he might be right that it is the best song on this album, but that's not saying much. And again, in a weak attempt to give them a compliment, they're very good at writing a certain type of melody, in a sense, because it's the melody that you've heard before, because it's been in like 5 other power metal bands have used it. So they're very good at writing these sort of very consonant, usually major key power metal melodies that resolve every chance they get. But they're very familiar. Like again, I've heard worse. I've heard bands who couldn't figure out how to rewrite the same melody that every other power metal band that was successful has done.
Okay, but here's the thing about that. Before you,
yes.
and I'm going to break up your train. But I had this problem 4 or 5 times while listening to this. I'm not paying attention to exactly what's going on track wise. I'm not looking at my device and saying, "Oh, okay, here's this song, this title, blah blah blah." And multiple times I thought, "Oh, what the hell is it? Repeating the last song again?" And it's not. But it is, because their songs are the same song several different times. It's the exact. Come on, I'm hearing the same melody. It's the same theme. Nothing here is significantly changing, other than it's slightly different, not good lyrics that I can't understand very well.
You're right on the money. Victim, I think, stands out a little. It was like maybe the best version of a melody that you've definitely heard before, but then it also had several things in it that drew my attention to the worst things about this band. For one, it is they repeated a lyrical formula from the last album. You remember how there was the like, "Am I worthy?" And then later on, there's a song where they were like, "I always was worthy."
Yeah.
Where they ask themselves a question and then they answer it. And this song does the same thing. It's like, "Will I always feel like a victim?" And then later on, it comes back, "I will always feel like a victim." And then eventually, "I won't always feel like a victim," or something like that. But barely any metaphor, but we're going to throw in our like medieval fantasy stuff because it's like, well, I always feel like a victim. Well, I always fight on my skip, blah, 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 blah. A king is king alone. And then eventually this king is king alone. What does that mean? Like, you're not a king, okay? You're not, first of all, you guys are supposed to be hobbits. It doesn't even fit your theme. There's like no hobbit kings. That's why they're supposed to be the chillest. They're like communists or something. They're just like,
they're like anarcho-socialists or something.
They like live in like a nice community. They farm, they eat. They're just chill and they don't hurt anybody. But this king thing keeps coming back, and something about like something about thrones. But that was so bad. But another thing about this track stood out. There was this little bit of bass, and I'm actually questioning my thoughts on this now because it looked like they have a bass player now. They didn't. The first album they didn't have a bass player. The one guitar player who is still there from before, I believe, played bass on the first album. But there was like there's a little bit of bass at the beginning of this track that sounds good. Like it sounds like somebody had good bass tone. And my guess was that it was possibly a sample or plugin or something, because you can get pretty good.
Be anything good new on this record?
Right, and it didn't really like matter because it was just this one little spot. I was like, oh, that's a cool little bass tone, and then the rest of the track is like the same crap or whatever. And it wasn't like I heard a good bass line come out of it. There's just one moment where the tone. I was like, oh, I was surprised by that, but it made me think of something. Full disclosure, establish my biases. I happened to watch a YouTube video a little bit before I listened to this album for the first time, and this may have drawn my attention to this more, and maybe why I didn't notice it on the first album, or something like that. There was a controversy over the guitar player. It's a separate thing. I was going to fill in the history and explain why this informed my observations. I just remember. Lucas Mann, who is a guitar player for, I believe, Rings of Saturn, and I thought he was in some other band too, but he had a big controversy over a bunch of fake guitar playing, which has become very common online. Shred guys play some shreddy thing, but they're really just like miming along, yes. And it's not even a recorded guitar track. It was like Guitar Pro MIDI. Which sounds bad, but it's gotten to the point where it's convincing enough. But it also has a distinct sound because you hear like every single pick strike equally because it's sampled. It's MIDI playing noises or whatever. So I stumbled on this video. I thought this guy was going to be defending him and saying how his guitar playing wasn't fake, because he was talking about how Jared Dines had made a video pointing this guy out in a particular live performance where you hear it and it sounds like you see him playing and it sounds, the track's just too perfect and it seems fake. But no, he actually was going through why it definitely was fake, and how Lucas Mann made like a 40-minute defense of that one clip, and he went through how that defense just proved it was fake, because his defense contradicted itself. First it was like at one point it was like, oh, you're just hearing the guide track that is in my monitors because the camera is close to my monitor. But then he was also just claiming like, no, you could hear my real guitar playing. And then later on he's saying, you can't hear my guitar playing because you hear my monitor, you only hear the guide track. And so he contradicted himself. And then he showed himself playing a different guitar part, which he was definitely playing, but it was a different guitar part, and it sounded real because it had just enough, sloppiness. And he's a very good guitar player. So it's extra ridiculous to do this kind of crap, because it's like, just play stuff that you can play. But he's like, no, I need to play stuff I can't play, but have you think I can play it. So he played something that was very fast, but was totally different, not the same kind of part at all. And they're like, see, that's real. And then the guy was like, yeah, that was a different part. So I just watched this, and this kind of in my brain. And so I'm listening to this, and I started to notice a lot of the guitar solos where there's a lot of arpeggios, a lot of sweeps. It is very, Rhapsody-like. And I started to notice that they're like very, very uniform. They're like perfectly in time. Again, the pick attacks seem to be very much the same volume on every note. There's no discrepancy between the lower strings and the higher strings. It's a very common thing with sweeps is that the low strings are usually less clear because they're thicker, the tone is different, and the high strings, it's easier to get that, but then the lower ones, they get kind of like muddy and they blend together more. It's harder to articulate them. And so even the best guitar players, like John Petrucci, Jeff Loomis, guys who play sweeps and crazy shred stuff all day and all night, you can hear these little things when they do crazy sweeps and stuff like that. And this didn't sound like that. This sounded like we programmed most of the album because it's all these fake orchestra stuff. And then we thought, why don't we just program the guitar solos too? And then, like, there's little moments where maybe you can hear some real guitar. And so it's possible that there's like three possibilities. One, they had this, guide track of MIDI guitars to write the songs, program in parts, and then play over it. And then they just used way, way more of the guide track on the album than the actual recorded guitar. That's one possibility. Another is they're just super, super heavily edited, quantized, and compressed, and a certain type of guitar tone. But that seems unlikely considering how bad the mix is, that it was just fixed. Like, I was thinking that was possible before, but now I'm like, I don't think that, I think, because then why didn't you just fix the whole mix and make it sound good, and then the third possibility is it's just fake. It's totally fake. Just like literally just MIDI guitar. And again, maybe he tried to play along with it and then it was like, nope, that didn't work. Oh, well, leave it on the record. So I kept listening. Again, the more I listened to it, the more I heard it. And there was little parts where there are definitely a few moments where I'm like, okay, that's a real guitar. Okay, that's a real guitar. You would think like the slow, bendy, melodic stuff would sound more real because why wouldn't you be able to play that? But some of that sounds fake too. There's like some bends that sound like synth bends. Like when a synth or MIDI bends a note, especially when it's programmed and is very in time, it sounds a very different way than when any person in the world bends the string on a guitar. And I heard that in one of the early, maybe even the first solo on the album. And then I kept listening and it sounds so fake. And again, the guy who's still in the band, who went to Mad with Power, he played admirably live, but sloppy, because there's all this stuff. He couldn't keep up with all of it live, so some parts got sloppy, some parts fell behind, whatever. But he played an admirable amount of their material. But that just makes me think, all guitar solos on this album are fake. Like, what the hell? Like, and I'm pretty confident.
This sounds highly plausible.
I listened to it so many times. I was like, this can't be right. This can't be right. It's maybe just like people edit a lot. Maybe they quantized. A lot of bands just are open about that now because it's so common that they don't mind telling you that they can't play any other parts like just properly. Like, well, we got to move all the notes around and everything. But it didn't sound like that either. It didn't sound like they took the notes and moved them around. It sounded like it was Guitar Pro or some other, like, there's even better options. There's like plugins for like metal rhythm guitars now. That used to be like impossible to get a metal rhythm guitar to sound convincing if it wasn't real. But now they have plugins like that, you can program in gent parts and it'll play them, and there you go. So I think that, I don't know how they justified it to themselves. Maybe again, it's like, they probably programmed it to write the songs and to write the solos, and then played along, and then anywhere that it didn't sound good, just, kept the guide in, and then just like dipped the real track when it didn't sound good, which was apparently a lot of the time. It just sounds so fake. And the other, it is like rhythmically perfect. It's so perfectly in time with the rest of the MIDI, because there's so much MIDI. The whole album is rotten with MIDI, right? Which
Absolutely.
is
Absolutely,
somewhat acceptable
100%.
because that's every symphonic metal band now.
Right.
Most of them don't have keyboard players, and even if they did, the keyboard player couldn't play 100 instruments at once, or even like say 5 simulated ensembles to make an orchestra. So there's just going to be programming. So that's been so normalized, and we know that's almost like guaranteed to be the case with all the non-metal instruments. Who knows with the drums? Like drums are also kind of where they'll quantize and sound replace, and so it might as well be fake. I'm not going to say these drums are definitely fake because I don't have the same ear for it, and it could have literally been like played in and then they just again quantized, and maybe he was playing an electronic kit and therefore there's already samples. Who knows? Drums sound fake on most metal albums anyway. That's why the plugins are so good, because you just go play. I've been messing around. I've been doing stuff lately where I used to be very obsessive about I will write every part, but lately since I've been doing like flattened earth stuff where it's kind of a joke anyway, I'm like, give me some MIDI.
Flattened Earth. Go listen, especially when it comes out. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, let me fake some more stuff. Cause like I'm gonna play the guitars, and so I've been just digging into the MIDI and being like, oh, Gene Hoglan played this, sweet, and I'm gonna like put out the track, be like, Flattened Earth featuring Gene Hoglan's MIDI from this drum pack from 15 years ago.
It's fine.
So yeah, my thing was, I think the guitar solos, and who knows what else therefore, are fake, very, very fake. And
this is entirely too believable. I agree. I am buying into your conspiracy theory. I think this is a fake record. So wait, we have a not very good singer. We have not good at all vocal production. We have MIDI production throughout to the point where we are strongly considering this record may be almost entirely fake. Strike one, strike 2, strike 3, strike 4. And you know what else this record doesn't have, Matt? I bet you know what else this record doesn't have.
Lyrics? Or
it doesn't have. Oh no! I've glossed over that. I'm done with it.
Okay.
I don't care. Those are awful, but it still didn't have any hooks.
Oh,
there's no hooks again. Well, how are there no hooks? There are no real hooks. I can't remember any licks.
They're just
riffs
bad
at all
bad
from
hooks.
This.
I remember the chorus of the Victim song, but it's very annoying and stupid. That's fair. And although every time I think of the Lift Up Your Hearts one, it's like I can't put my finger on it, but I keep thinking of like a different power metal song, because again, it just is like, yeah, they're hooks. They're just somebody else's hooks. There's hooks from like 20 years ago.
Write a new hook.
Yeah, no, they can't do that. That's never going to happen. I couldn't believe, like, the one thing you expect. Look, again, the ship has sailed on drums. I'm not a drum purist, because frankly, you got to know a drummer who can play the stuff, and you got to be able to record drums, which means you need an engineer who can properly mic and record drums, and someone who can properly mix them. And you need enough time to properly, like, it's so hard to get real drums. It's great when you can manage it. Like, I'm sure Dream Theater is like recording real drums, and you're hearing
that's a pretty
legit
safe assumption.
Well, especially since that was a whole thing about Portnoy was pissed because Images and Words has like a replaced snare. It's like a fake snare, and he was so. I think that fake snare sounds great, by the way, but he was so mad about it, and then they took over their own production, and then you're definitely hearing real raw, real drum sounds, but there's not that many Mike Portnoys around, and so it's hard to do stuff like that and do it for real, and also you need a budget. So whatever, less stuff's faked, and if the drum parts are going to be they're just going to be like a standard metal beat anyway. Who gives a crap? But the guitars are one thing that, not just because they've been hard to fake until now, but because it's like the main instrument for metal. It's the main thing that makes the sound, that makes what you're listening to be metal. And especially when you're doing like Rhapsody Symphony X, again, maybe Jeff Loomis, crazy arpeggio, because there's just arpeggios just sweeps out the butt in this record, right? Just so you, and to fake that, again, they're not the first to do it, but usually it's like on Instagram. Usually, I mean, I don't know, maybe there are a bunch of fake records. I think that was that might have been part of the allegations with Rings of Saturn. I don't know, because I don't listen to that band. But for the Positivity Hobbits to be faking all the guitar solos
I need a t-shirt that says "For the Positivity Hobbits."
It's not very Hobbit-like behavior, is what I'm saying. And I think...
well, the Hobbits were somewhat notoriously lazy.
That's true.
I mean, we have these Hobbit stories, and these are the big stories because these were unusual Hobbits. And
That's true.
Big epic journeys. This was not... And that's
true.
The thing. This was so unusual. These were extraordinary hobbits gallivanting about the countryside, saving Middle Earth. And that's clearly what this band thinks they're doing, is gallivanting about the countryside and saving middle class America and Europe, or
the middle of England, United Kingdom.
But there's so. The guitar is bad. The guitar is bad. The guitar is bad. There's not like solos. There's not like real arpeggiation, notes, and things. It's all bullshit. And the singer's bad. The singer's so bad he had to be produced down into the mix. Without a good guitarist and neat guitar parts and solos and fun stuff.
But that's the crazy thing. This guy. The guy, okay, we're going to have to watch this video to say, or at least I'm going to go through it to see.
Oh, God.
For Evan. Okay, they had two guitar players. I originally thought the other one was cleaner. Maybe he was faking it the first time. I think he's gone. Maybe, you know what? Maybe, okay, this is wild speculation. All right, so here's our full-on conspiracy theory, wild speculation.
Good kind.
He didn't make it to Mad with Power. They had one guitar player and a MacBook. And I didn't hear an explanation for why, but maybe he was just like, it's one thing to fake this stuff in the studio and make a video where you pretend you can play it, but I'm not going to fly to the United States and do it on stage. But I don't think they didn't fake it on stage. That's the other crazy thing.
Is it possible that this other guitarist is not really a guy in the band?
Is not real?
He's just he's probably a guy, but I'm not sure if he's a real guitarist. He may have just been in the video.
Well, but he was able to fake it in the video to where I thought he was a better guitarist than the guy who's still in the band. That's what was surprising. He seemed better. He seemed the better of the two in the first one.
But maybe he's a guy from another band that does play guitar that was like, hey, be in my video. You can make it look like we're a band, because we're not. We're a MacBook and a bad singer. But if it looks like there's like 5 of us, we can get some schmuck from Wisconsin to book us as a band.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm making these faces because I just noticed there's like even more music videos.
Oh, good. I don't. Oh, they're so bad.
They really.
There aren't videos on Bandcamp though. Are there?
No, but usually if they're going to be like, here who we are, here's who's in the band.
Maybe.
They list both guitar players still. But then there's like pictures of 4 guys, and then this music video, there's, I don't know.
I think he's just getting his friends. He's got like buddies who's just like, hey, come be in my video. We're a band.
They claim they're both, they seem to claim they're both in the band still. And one of them didn't go to Wisconsin. The one who did, he can play guitar. Like, he did a good job. It was, exactly what you would expect from a band with this many notes. And it makes sense also if this is how they write all the guitar solos, is by programming them into Guitar Pro or something and then trying to learn them. And like, A for effort, like he played a lot of the stuff he's supposed to play, but then when it fell apart, it was like not that surprising. But so what? That's what you do until you don't do that. Or if you do that and you can never fully play the stuff you wrote, you write slightly easier stuff so you can actually play it. people want to hear. Nerds want to hear musicians playing.
Nerds are people too, Matt. I think.
Nerds want to hear musicians playing at the limits of their ability. They don't want to hear them playing past their ability because that's not possible. You can't play past your ability. You play limit, like right at the limit.
You can fail past your ability.
That's true. And you can Milli Vanilli it, and you can. It's so. I will say the singer did get a full-size cape for this new video. I guess if you get to hold up your heart, you need a full-size. Is he not available to pretend to play? Oh, is he the villain in the video? What is? They have like puppets.
I don't know. Maybe he's really ugly.
The drummer wears a mask because he's smart enough to know that he doesn't want to be easily identifiable. And then
is
he the? Maybe he's the dinosaur.
Theory that not all these people are real. We've got guys in masks, guys in costumes, dinosaurs. You don't need that many guys if half of them are in costume. You need as many guys as are just faces. I'm not gonna watch it. I refuse. I've put enough. I listened to this album like 6 times.
Okay. The credits here. The other guitar player is now credited as guitar studio only, which apparently includes music videos. Again, maybe because he cannot really play the stuff that he plays, which is weird. Like he faked it the first time around, and then maybe the shame became too great that he no longer wanted to pretend to play because people were saying how good they were, and he was like, "Hey, man, giving me credit where MacBook should get the credit." I don't know.
Jesus Christ! No, this band's awful. Their singer's bad. Their guitarist is potentially fake. Their songs are bad. The lyrics are super positive. That's like the thing I'm hearing. Oh, they're relentingly positive, and that's why people love them.
But you know what's so funny? What's so funny about it?
Teletubbies or whatever.
So are all the bands. So are like all the that was the there already were positive, uplifting power metal bands. They just used the metaphor. They knew how to write the metaphor for a whole song, so that it wasn't like this obvious. It wasn't this wink, wink. We're dorks, but like we're singing about knights being knights, but we're really dorks. Wink, wink. Like it was just like we just sang about being knights or whatever, and how going into battle and blah blah, and like it's uplifting, but without the obvious. It's like in wrestling, how they have kayfabe. You know, you're not supposed to like talk about the show, how it's a fake, how it's planned out, and like they don't understand that. It's like the wrestling fans who don't understand how that works. They think it's real, or they think it's all fake. Like it's like they're a wrestling band. It's fake, but but the guitar playing is fake instead of the like medieval fantasy metaphors. It's so ridiculous, but it just makes it so much worse that they're so popular, because it's like, you know what? Maybe it's because Dungeon Synth is so popular, and Dungeon Synth is probably fully idiomatic to be entirely MIDI based, because it's all just synths, right? It can all be programmed.
And that's fine.
Not all of it is. Sometimes they play synths live, but it can be programmed. So this is maybe in reality this is a Dungeon Synth band with vocals, and they just LARP as a metal band by pretending to play guitars and stuff. That's the best I can.
I'm trying to put this all together. And stab at why. Well, why in general, but like, I want to be clear. We do not begrudge them their success. We just want to know how and why this has happened, because to be successful is fine. You tapped into something that stupid people, and people like. it's fine. Bilk the idiots. But how did you do that? Are people this dumb? I think they might be this dumb.
I mean, I think it's the natural progression as power metal, consumes itself and rots from the inside. Is that there's like a bunch of bands that have kind of come through who were doing power metal, but they couldn't quite. I used to complain that they weren't good enough at copying the existing power metal. Like, you got to at least be up to that. Fine, you can't do something better or unique, original, okay, whatever, but at least get up to that thing. And I would complain they couldn't do it. This band kind of did it in a way, but then they just figured out how to like fake it, because it was like there's only a handful of bands that had this level of like there's like Luca Turilli with Rhapsody. There's Adagio, which is I forget the guy's name, and there's Symphony X, and Labyrinth. There's a handful of bands who can actually play the stuff that this band is copying. And so the fact that it turns out like they probably should have been, that's probably what they should have been, one of these bands that's like really kind of middling, and they would have done the positivity thing, but maybe what pushed them over the edge is that they decided to fake being much better musicians. And so these guys would hear them and they'd be like, yeah, like Rhapsody, but not playing it. And I don't know, that's all I can think of, because the positivity thing alone, it only works if you like what you're hearing. And their first album to come out of the gate, like, we've talked a lot about how Lords of the Trident have improved over the years, and they're really a respectable level power metal band now. And say also Unleash the Archers. Think about how many albums those bands put out before you could really give them that credit. And they really
But you could also tell that they were bands the whole time, because you can hear improvement, and you can hear things that sound like bands making sounds that have room for improvement or show that improvement. And there are songs that do things that aren't just the same exact thing you've heard 30,000 times, and also don't do things that sound like they're completely programmed, other than maybe that AI stuff from Unleash the Archers, which is a shame. But I don't know where to go with this. I'm so upset by the existence of this album, this band. I hate this.
I thought
they should feel bad.
I thought there wasn't going to be anything else worth saying about them after the first one, but no, because this one really drew my attention to how fake it is, and that's much worse. Like, it's one thing to be like not that good, but you're trying, and you're like you said, like a band, like you're playing music. And there's like, again, there's a certain amount that it's like okay to fake now, okay?
Sure.
But not all of it.
More of it. Way too much of it.
Why do you need a studio-only guitar player if guitars is fake?
Matt, what this boils down to, it's the show, Matt. Their music is bad, and they should feel bad.
It turns out they should actually feel bad. Like, that is a reason to feel bad. If you're faking, if you're swindling your fans by pretending you can play Luca Turilli guitar parts. Oh man, I may have to watch. There's like an interview with the singer talking about the evolution of power metal. It's like, is the evolution into faking it, and
that sure sounds like it. No, they suck. That's all there is to it. I'm never listening to this again. I'm deleting it off of all my devices. I'm going to find ways to purge my algorithms and my datas. This is one of the worst things I've put myself through. And I'm done talking about it. How about you?
It's real bad. It's real bad. I'm sorry I made you listen to it.
No, that's the show. But we might need to talk about a format where we listen to some bad things and some good things.
We have been.
Yes,
We've
that's
been
absolutely true. And that's
things.
why I agreed to this, because we listening to a lot of good stuff.
We were due. We were due for something to be.
We got to balance it out. We got to do some good, some bad, some good, some bad. We'll work on it. Hit us up with suggestions of stuff that either sucks, but I can stand listening to it, or is really great, but we're going to know about that. We're going to talk about that. Or just tell us why I'm a bad person for making Make-A-Wish jokes.
Right. Give us
I deserve that. You should do that. But also, I'm not sure I'm wrong.
Fill us in on the secret code that explains why we're supposed to pretend they're good.
Yeah. And click like and subscribe while you're doing that. Do all this stuff. Flame us. Get after it.
And if you think I'm wrong and that they're not, I don't want to say cheating, but let's say just faking guitar playing, feel free to let me know why you think that is. And if you have any sort of evidence or argument or observations to back that up, I'd love to hear it, because
or if you're this band, just come after us, get on the show. We'll get some extra clicks. Holy crap, I can't talk anymore. I'm so irritated. Come on the show, defend yourself. We would love that. Or it would be the most awkward thing ever. Hit us up, you fuckers.
Yeah.
Hey, I dropped that F-bomb. I wasn't going to do it, but I did. There's a thing I want to do, but it's getting away from the show again. Well, actually, I have a theory about what the show could do. I kind of got into it. I feel like we should do something that's awful and something that's good, and kind of get into a rhythm of that. Like, we just listened to one of the worst things possible. I feel like the next thing to do is listen to some of the best stuff. Say, like, a little bit of a Rush retrospective, which we talked about doing. Something good, something bad. After we've listened to Rush, we'll go listen to whatever the dumbest thing that Loudwire has told us has come out recently. That kind of thing. Get into a rhythm. Your music is bad. You should feel bad. And this is what you should strive to sound like, you jerks.
Yeah. All right, we'll figure something out. We'll do it soon.
That'll be good.
Catch us next time. Let us know in the comments what else we should listen to that's new, exciting,
subscribe,
good or bad.
And flame us. That's why we're here.
Yeah. All right, I'm turning it off now.